The Depth to Delve Deep by Rote Writer. Chapter 68 Louvre. He ambles through another arch and is soon on a pedestrian-only promenade leading all the way to the Louvre, where beautiful buildings enclose the former royal palace into a square. Rote's not impressed with the three glass pyramids sitting in the center of the Louvre cobblestone square. Supposedly, they symbolically represent in a garish way the three pyramids in the Giza necropolis just outside Cairo, Egypt. Rote enters the Louvre through the largest of the three glass pyramids, likened to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Like a rogue, he bypasses the ticket booth and the gatekeeper without even thinking. He can afford the cost, but old habits die hard. Again, the hordes of tourists try him, to the point of being hot and bothered all the time. Not a good state to be in when in a much anticipated foreign land for the first time. A one-time shot, perhaps, to see things he may never see again. Nonetheless, like a sheep being led by a shepherd, Rote, like all the tourists present, is led almost beyond any power to protest to Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. By the time Rote comes to the portrait in Salon Carré, he's again disappointed. He's a bit betwixt by the imagined images imprinted in his mind made from the millions of pictures and photographs, let alone replicas of the Mona Lisa. When he sees the original Mona Lisa, it doesn't meet the imprint surely fixed and all yet to see the original at the Louvre. The Mona Lisa is kept at bay the way it's cordoned off, and because the paint is so faint, the tiny portrait is hard to see. Though her subtle smile says more than most people know, or so Rote's been told. He's heard it's a portrait of Leonardo as a woman, though from what Rote can see and what he knows of women, Mona Lisa is not smiling. A forced smile behind a brute force forcing her to sit there and smile is what he sees. So there's Rote reading the faces of the tourists to see how they react to the very old work of art. It's as if its learned greatness makes them feel great. He continues along the procession to see the Venus de Milo, wondering if she still had her arms, would people see her in the same light? He counters that with a thought with her curves, so sublime, etc. Rote walks all around the Louvre with little or no enthusiasm, as if it were more of an effort than a joy to see such things. Not a good state of being, and Rote realizes that, but feels powerless to shake it. He leaves the Louvre free of charge. As he does, something starts to surface. His stomach begins to growl. Oh, please don't go. I can't, must have, resist to. He's again inside one of the many McDonald's, chewing down spew. Outside, after feeling he's just fed from the trough, he takes a good look around. He thinks a bit about this and that, but mostly about his lack of joie de vivre. His no raison d'etre. Feels like his head gets cut off the night he's fired in Glastonbury. And all he's doing now is touring without seeing, without hearing, without feeling all the fine things he should be. Bothered but not beaten yet. He goes back to the campground and back to Paris proper to see what's left to see. Namely the Eiffel Tower. Everything else he just walks by. Like the famous Morency Impressionist Gallery. It has such a huge lineup. Rote doesn't have the patience or the purpose to wait in line only to be disturbed by the masses. He sees Paris's highest point, Montmartre, crowned by Sacré-Cœur Cathedral, up on a hill in the distance all the time. He never makes it there, unmoved by the lure of Moulin Rouge. He knows in hindsight he'd like to see it, but wonder why he doesn't. He's done. Rote's last day in Paris is spent at the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is situated on the southern bank of the Seine, the end of the park-like promenade called Champ de Mars. It stands tall before Rote. He's struck by the solid metal structure and the way it gradually closes to a point. The base is formed from four massive steel stumps. It's not a natural wonder, even a masonry masterpiece, but Rote has to admit that the steel structure has an appeal, though he's not quite sure what the allure is. Nonetheless, it's a nomenclature of French culture. After being stayed by the structure, he walks by several other sites of interest. He figures they are by the military-clad gendarmerie guarding them. Afterwards, he walks into Hôtel National des Invalides, where Napoleon remains rest under the Dôme des Invalides, a beautifully made sarcophagus mounted in the middle of the dome. Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France. Rote starts thinking about how history is forged by monarchs and megalomaniacs, fermented from the fires of the times, be it Louis the XVI and Marie Antoinette, or Napoleon and Josephine, or the French Revolution fueled by folks fed up like Robespierre and Danton. Rhodes pauses for a moment and wonders, what if Napoleon won at Waterloo? Would he have stopped, or would he have continued with his war campaigns? Rhodes, now in his final resting place, ponders his life. He stays long enough to see the beautifully domed mausoleum before being asked to pay for leave. He can pay, but again, old habits die hard. From there, he reflects upon the original purpose of Hotel des Invalides, mainly a hospital for military veterans. He thinks surely many of Napoleon's soldiers make their way, a very unhealthy way, to that part of Paris back in their day. Road passes by the parish church of Saint Louis and the Pantheon, where Victor Hugo rests. He passes by a lot of things that on any other day he would spend hours taken by the history held within or without. Road feels he's insulting the historical sites with his blasé indifference. He's bothered by his laissez-faire ways, fraught to find savoir-faire somewhere. He needs to find some place where he might clear his mind from the dark cloud clinging to him. It's darkening his days and his demeanor. He knows Jim Morrison doesn't leave Paris alive.